Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back to OC Power Players, where I interview some of the most successful people in Orange County. I'm Danny Flores, your host, and today's honored guest is Dr. Jennifer Roelands, zooming in from Fullerton. Dr. Roelands is defining women's healthcare through Precision Health MD, a personalized medicine practice treating the root causes of illness, not just symptoms. With an elite academic foundation, UC Santa Barbara, UC San Diego, Duke, and board certifications in both integrative and functional medicine, she combines scientific expertise with holistic care to help women over 35 thrive through menopause and beyond. In 2024, she launched her YouTube channel to empower women with tools to reclaim their energy, balance their hormones, and promote longevity. Outside the clinic, she's an avid hiker, a foodie, and a proud mother of 4. Welcome, Dr. Roelands.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how it helps the community.
Yeah, so I've been an OB/GYN for 16 years, and I also got boarded in integrative or holistic medicine. So integrative is basically like taking traditional and alternative medicine and putting them together, integrating them together. So how this helps patients is patients will often come to me and say, I was diagnosed with IBS, but why do I have IBS? Can I be off of medication long term? Can I figure out the why? And in Western medicine, we don't really focus so much on the why. We make a diagnosis and we give a medication. We don't really work on reversal of that medication. We don't work on the reason behind.
Right.
That's kind of the way it's set up. It's very transactional, right? We wait until you develop diabetes, then we diagnose you, we put you on medication. But root cause medicine, or this type of medicine, is more about understanding, hey, can we prevent it? And then if we get it, can we reverse these things? What are the reasons why? So I like this forward-thinking, proactive, not a one-size-fits-all type of medicine where I can really help patients live longer and overall kind of understand their biology a little bit better.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. If you can find, it's not just about band-aiding, I guess, the symptom, which is the Western medicine practice, is just by giving you medication for the rest of your life. But being able to, I like the idea of being able to, let's figure out what's wrong with you. Let's figure out how to fix it. That way you don't have to be on medication forever, right? So you mentioned something about preventing. So that would be a step before you get to having the symptoms, I guess. So how can you, or how can someone do a study on their body maybe and figure out what they may have to change, whether it's diet, maybe it's supplements or something else that they might have to do different to be able to prevent potential illnesses, diabetes, or anything else that might be preventable?
Yeah, I mean, you have to have a good assessment, right? So when I do blood work, for example, I just don't do the standard, what's your blood count? What's your chemistry? What is your cholesterol? I'm looking at, do you have a vitamin D deficiency? Because vitamin D deficiency has increased risk of colon and breast cancer. I'm looking at inflammation. Do you have an inflammatory marker that's up? Therefore, you might have heart disease later on. I'm looking at bones, like what are your bone health, right? So when I do an assessment on a patient, because most patients will come to me and say, how do I feel good now and in 10 years and 20 years? Like, it's not just about this moment. I want you to help me like age the way I want to age. Or I do a lot of, I hate the word anti-aging, but a lot of longevity type medicine. And so really it's like, here's a better assessment. Instead of this reactive type of medicine, it's more proactive. So you understand what are the things that you can tweak. What do your genetics say about you? I do a lot of genetic testing. So patients may find out that, I'm predisposed, for example, I'm 30 years old and guess what? I'm predisposed to diabetes and heart disease. What can I do as I age 30s, 40s to not end up in that category? So understanding your own unique biology, understanding some of that requires just lab work. Sometimes it requires things like wearable technology. Sometimes it requires genetics. So it really is kind of an outside the box, more whole body approach to medicine. So you can, by understanding what's going on now, you can also forward think and how do we prevent these things later on from developing.
So once you see something potentially in the blood work, then do you have ways to be able to, I guess, move away from that, where the patient can move away from that, whether what the changes that they have to make and not maybe become diabetic or
Yeah.
anything else?
So, yeah. So I not only use Western medicine medications as well, but Eastern medicine options. It depends on what
Mhm.
the patient fundamentally thinks is their right course, right? I tell patients I
Mhm.
have multiple buckets. Do we want to go in the nutrition and lifestyle bucket? Do we want to talk about herbs? Do we want to talk about supplements? Do we talk about medications? What is your sort of moral driver to what you think is the right choice? Because in my practice, I have patients who are very open to alternative and they don't even want to look at Western medicine options. They want to be on berberine for their blood sugar. They want to be on,
Right.
they want to change things up
Right.
and be on a different option. So that's the great thing about being integrative is I can have all the hats. I just have to with
Right.
being essentially, I'm the guide, right? The patient's the person in charge and be able to help guide them and say, okay, here are the options if you're not interested in statin, for example, for cholesterol. What if we
Hmm.
use red yeast rice? What if we use, here's some other alternatives. So I very much am like a partner in their
Right.
healthcare to figure out what is it that we need, what are the goals, and then
Hmm.
what are the things that you feel comfortable using as your goals.
Now, would it be safe to say that some require more work? Because taking a pill is easy, right? You just take it at whatever time you're supposed to take it. But maybe you have some dietary changes that you have to make. So a little bit more discipline, a little bit more work in the kitchen to prepare different types of meals or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there are patients who are people who that's not their thing. They prefer to do their medication every day, and that's okay. And that's
Hmm.
their, we all have free will to make the decisions as
Right, right,
that
right,
we
right,
want to
right.
make. Most of the time, patients are coming to me because they're already on those medications and they still find themselves not feeling normal, or they still
Hmm.
find themselves not feeling. So, if we go back to that, or perimenopause, because I see a lot of perimenopause women, right? They go to see their doctor, and their doctor puts them on an anti-anxiety medicine for their anxiety. It tells them to go to an orthopedic for their joints, and so they're on all these different plans, but they're still like, I don't feel normal. I don't feel like myself. I still don't, even though my labs say I'm normal, I don't feel normal. So those are where patients may come to me and say, there's got to be something else missing here. What is the pieces
Hmm.
of the puzzle? I don't think that this is going to be working long term for me to be on, say, a birth control pill for the next 10 years. I think this isn't where I want to be. So,
Right, right.
so that's kind of where the diving deep. Sometimes it does involve, well, most of the time it does involve nutrition and lifestyle because everybody needs little tweaks here and there for
Right. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And, if you truly want to live, so in medicine right now, or in healthcare in general, by the time you're the age of 60, you've already have one chronic disease. By the time you're 70, you usually have three or more. So if that's the traditional path of the way most Americans are, and 74% of Americans are overweight or obese, like if that's the trajectory someone is going to be on, most of the patients that are coming to me are like, I don't want to end up in those numbers. Like I want to be that
Mm,
90-year-old person who just went to sleep and that was it. And like they didn't have to
right,
spend 15 years on the couch in chronic disease, right?
right.
It's kind of a different mindset, a different
Yeah.
way to look at things. And typically that attracts a certain type of person who wants to look at that and realize, like, hey, I still want to live my grandkids, in my 70s, or I want to be able to still do certain things in my 80s. There's a very good physician. His name is Peter Attia. He wrote a book called Outlive. And in this book, it's like he sort of says the way we should think about it is asking every patient, when you're 100 years old, what are the 10 things you want to be able to do? It's called longevity Olympics. What are the 10 things you want to do when you're 100? It may be as simple as carry groceries without somebody else helping you. It might
Right.
be getting off the floor. I mean, there's different goals. So in my mind, if you ask patients those, then you set up what they do for the next 20 years or 30 years in anticipation of those goals so that they can meet the goals they want.
Right. So that, yeah, so we don't know how long we'll live, I guess, but the idea is let's live as healthy and mobile as possible all the way to the end, right? To be able to do
Yeah.
the activities we want to do whenever the end is, right?
Yeah, lifespan is the years that you live, and health span is how many years of those were actually free of disease and disability, right? So
Right.
let's
Okay.
let's
Very well put.
push the curve of the health span so that if I'm going to live to 90, I'd rather just have the last year be rough, not 15 years of it because I couldn't move because my joints hurt, or I was too tired, or I lost a lot of muscle, so I can't do any exercise. I don't want to live that way. I want to live to
Right.
where the last 3 months I get a little tired and then I go to sleep and don't wake up. Like,
Yeah.
very simple kind of concept. So those are things that you have to work at. It can't be, there's no pill for that, not yet.
Right.
I mean, who knows what medicine will lead to, but in general,
Correct.
you got to do some work. And so those are the patients that typically will seek me out because they're like, yeah, I want to look good, feel good, do all the things.
Right. Stay as be have the same activity level and ability that I have now, 30 years from now, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And you got to work at it. You got to understand your own body. You got to
Hmm.
understand your own biology. You have to understand your genetics. Maybe your genetics say you're not the person that can do heavy lifting. Maybe your genetics
Right.
say you're more of a cardio, slow muscle fiber twitch kind of. You have to figure out what are the things that you can do to still continue to age the way you want to.
Now, with your assessment, can you tell, like you just mentioned two things, strength or cardio? Those are two different ways of working out. And the results are totally different as well. Through your assessments, are you able to say, hey, look, if this is what's most beneficial and maybe most effective for you versus this route?
Yeah, you can do assessments on where they are, right? What's their balance test say about them? What does their grip strength say about them? What is their ability to, even an EEG for their brain? Like, you can actually understand where are they now. And then if you did genetic testing, you could actually determine what are the things that are going to be most suited for them, right? Like, what are the things that are the right
Mm-hmm.
things that they can do to go that direction? So genetics
Right.
actually can be very valuable for understanding what kind of tools you want to use to
Mm-hmm.
achieve that goal. So there's a lot of different interesting ways to understand the uniqueness of everybody to then
Right.
have a plan that's really personalized for you. That's what precision medicine is. It's taking tech, taking assessments, and making a personalized approach as opposed to every single person walking through the door who's a 50-year-old male gets the same plan. Do you know what I mean?
Right. No, no, that makes sense. Now here's a trick question.
Okay.
Trick question, and I think I know the answer,
Okay.
but okay, you're 20 years old, you're 30 years old, you're 40s, you're 50s, you're 60s. When we're 20 years old, we think we're invincible.
Of
When we're
course.
30, we still feel the same way. We don't sleep enough, maybe we don't eat right, we eat unhealthy. But as we start getting older, 40, 50, closer to 60, now we start thinking about all these things that we should have been doing that
Yeah.
we're not doing. So the question is, when is the best time? And I think the answer would be early. But because we don't do that, when is the second best time to make these changes so that as we start visioning, now we're really getting older, now we have to make these changes, and now we have to figure out how to live healthier, longer. What is the picture like that for that?
Yeah. Well, before you answer that, I'm going to say that there's never a wrong time to start. There's a
Right.
I mean, there are countless stories. In fact, if you're an Instagram person, there's a Instagram person named Train with Joan, and she literally did no exercise until she hit 70, and she was diagnosed with multiple illnesses, and she said, "Oh my gosh, like, I got to change my life." And
Hmm.
that woman is buff. Like, I mean, she could take out any of us. Like, amazing.
Wow.
Did nothing until she realized I got to do something to not end up on multiple medications. But I would say most people sort of start recognizing their mid 40s, like, oh, huh, the
Right,
pills are
right.
starting to not be as efficient, especially women, and they hit perimenopause and they go, oh my God, what's up with this weight gain? What's up with this? I can't sleep. Why am I stressed out? Why am I yelling at the teenagers in my job? Like, so mid 40s, I think tends, and that is the pivotal time in my mind for both men and women where you start seeing hormone changes. So you start losing a little muscle mass, your bones start getting affected, you start developing high blood pressure, right? Cholesterol starts to creep up. These things start to kind of happen because we're all going through these shifts in our 40s where things are just not the same as they were. So I think most people will start to recognize in their 40s or even early 50s, like, hey, I used to go to the gym and work out an hour and I'd be fine, but now it takes me 2 days to recover. Like, what's up with
Right.
that?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah.
Start noticing that. And that happens for men too. Men don't go through menopause, but they actually can notice decline in testosterone that starts to happen in their early 50s and go, I just don't have the same efficiency as I did. And I think if you can't if you don't see those signals or are not ready for that, or even if you're thinking ahead of time, I often talk to 30-year-olds. So 30 is about building, right? You can still build muscle, you can still build brain, you can still do it's about building, building, building. You have these beautiful hormones that just work with you. And
Right.
40s is like, okay, hold on to it, right?
Yeah,
40s
right.
is like, is defend the decline, right? Like, let's just
Yeah.
keep the decline from happening. And 60 on up is preservation. It's all about preservation. Let's preserve what we have. Let's not lose any more bone, muscle, brain, any of these things. Let's preserve what we have. So even 30-year-olds, I often will say, hey, like, I know you don't think about these things, but like, what kind of things do you do for resistance training? What, and just try to plant some ideas of things that they would do and stress that, the way that you live in your 30s determines how your perimenopause and menopause goes.
Right. Yeah.
It sort of sets you up for success or failure. So even though it may not be a concept that kind of hits very hard in your 30s because you feel like you're still very invincible and nothing hurts,
Yeah. Right.
you can still kind of talk about the things they can do to stay ahead of the curve that aren't very hard because most 30-year-olds are working out and they tend to sort of still be doing pretty active and eating fairly well and those kind of things. So I still talk to those. So any time is a time you can pivot and start, to be honest. There's no
Right.
time you can't. Even people I've worked with 75-year-olds who are now noticing that they just don't have the same brain focus that they had. They have a little bit of memory issues and may have some weakness. So the low-hanging fruit, what can we do to start
Right.
changing
Right.
those habits? Because what I don't want you to do is fall and break a hip, right?
Right. Right.
What
Right.
can we do to bring that to prevention of you falling and breaking a hip? And that's so incredibly critical, even in someone's 70s.
Right. Run on 100%. Now, you mentioned about the 70-year-old that was having issues. Now, the question is, are most symptoms potentially reversible if you make the lifestyle changes so that you can wean yourself off of medication or become healthier so you don't have to take medication?
Well, we know the CDC said 80% of diseases are preventable by lifestyle. So the Center for Disease
80%.
80% of diseases are preventable by diet and lifestyle, or lifestyle really can encompass diet. So we know prevention. And if you look at something called the centenarian studies, which are studies around the entire world of people living 100 or more, and then there's a super centenarian group that lived 110 or greater, then we learn a lot from those people aging. And the number one thing that comes from that whole cohort is those people delay the onset of their disease to begin with. Like again, like I said, they pushed that health span over and they had a very short period of having chronic disability. The other my favorite part of those studies is that the number one thing everybody said was they lived with purpose. They all had a purpose, a community of purpose, which I think is something we don't think about when we talk about medicine, is what gets you up in the morning. There's one, if you've ever seen Dan Buettner's Blue Zones,
Yes, I was going to say that.
yeah, he has this one, and that's a lot of that's based upon these centenarian studies. They had this one man who said, I get up every single day because my church needs me. They need me. I can't die. They need me. And I think that's so impactful that that's for him the purpose, right? They need me to be a part of this. And I think part of longevity, you have to take into that connection community part also as part of health as well. Like, what drives you? Why do you get up in the morning? What is your purpose, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's like, you can't go to the doctor and get a prescription for purpose.
No.
You can't read a book and get purpose out of it. This comes from within, and that's like super powerful because it's very interesting if you have a reason to wake up a reason to get up, and maybe what you do impacts people in a positive way. I think that's one of the coolest things ever to be able to do, is to be able to give back to somebody and just see smiles, as simple as a smile on somebody's face. Maybe if it's just for the day, that's very gratifying.
Hmm.
And so that's super interesting. Now, what's like, let's just say, second, purpose is potentially one that people can start thinking about.
Yeah.
What's one thing that people can change? And then this is for people, for our audience that's listening, that can make them go in the correct direction.
I think, how do you see yourself as you age? Like, what is like for me, I have 4 children and I want to be able to play with my grandkids, go on fun trips with them. I want to be mobile, agile, able to do those things, get on a flight. I want to be able to do those things and be that fun grandma, right? The one that's like cool,
Right.
that goes to like, takes them to Costa Rica and I go on the zip line. Like I want to do those things. So I see that as my longevity goal. How do I, at 48 years old, be able to, the next 30 years, be able to still be
Hmm.
capable of doing those things?
Right.
And so you have to think about how do you see yourself age, right? What are the
Hmm.
things that are important for you to be able to do in 20 or 30 years? And then
Hmm.
that's how you set up the trajectory of, how do you work with a doctor? How do you, maybe not a doctor, maybe a naturopath or whoever, how do you get those set in the plan in motion to get there?
Right. Right. No, no, that makes sense. We have to ask that question of ourselves, and
Yeah.
maybe we have to discover ourselves, because maybe we've never asked it and we're just living one day at a time without even questioning anything.
Yeah, and I always talk to patients when we set aside a plan. I'm a big fan of low hanging fruit, right? Like, what's the low hanging fruit we can start with? I'm not going to
Hmm.
give you a Microsoft Word document of like 90 things to do, because it doesn't work for anybody. It's got
No.
to be the low hanging fruit. What are the things that we can add that are the easiest for you to make those
Right.
changes? Maybe it is nutrition. Maybe it's just putting tennis shoes on and going for a walk.
Hmm.
Maybe it's having some sort of journaling that you need to do. Maybe it's you up at night at 10 o'clock doing all your work emails.
Yeah. Right.
There's a lot of like things that are the low hanging fruit. We all know we have them, right? We all know
Hmm.
the things that we're like, we could probably do that little thing. It's like,
Right. Yeah. We all have that. Absolutely.
we got to do it. And, there's a fantastic book called Atomic Habits, which is all about, basically, if you take something and you make it a habit, it's part of your day to day, every single day. It doesn't become a thing, a chore. It
Hmm.
becomes just your day to day life. So, for example,
Right.
my mother in law doesn't like to lift weights. She doesn't, but she needs to. So I joke with her. We've talked about a plan where she puts the little hand weights right in front of her coffee pot, because she
Hmm.
won't do anything without her coffee. Like, she will not, it's like straight to the
Okay.
coffee pot, right? So while it's brewing for 10, 15 minutes, she does her little arm
There
weights,
you go.
because it's like, I got to do something for 15 minutes while my coffee's brewing. I might as well
Right.
make this part of my habit, right? And it's
Yep.
just a no brainer.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
that's awesome. That's awesome. That's the little things, right? Like you said, low hanging fruit. You can't turn your life upside down. None of us have the discipline to be able to do that. But if we do one step at a time, it puts us in the right direction.
yeah, it seems way less hard and challenging, that if you just add those small things that you think are easier to do. Like, I always felt bad about like going to the gym without my kids, because like taking time away from my kids. Well, now my kids are all teenagers now. So I put them in charge of making me go to the gym. They love going to the gym because they think there's nothing cooler than lifting more weights than your mom, right? Like, that's
Oh,
way better.
yeah.
Like, especially my 15-year-old son, he thinks there's nothing better than being able to lift heavier than me. So I now make it a habit that Thursdays, like, the three of us, my two middle ones and me, go to the gym. And like, now I don't feel the guilt. I'm with my children.
Right.
We're having fun interactions because they think it's great to see me struggling and them lifting, So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's kind
Right.
of part of the fun. My dog
Yeah.
great to make me do the stair stepper and I complain the whole time. So it's
Right.
kind of, it allows me to sort of like incorporate what my fear was to take away from time, but now I'm actually having better time with them.
Right. You figured out how to spend quality time and beneficial time with your children, and teaching them to do the same.
Yeah, and establishing good habits for them, right?
Yeah,
They're teenagers, so lifting some weights is a good thing for them, especially boys. They got to burn some testosterone, so
exactly.
it's
Yeah,
still good
yeah.
for them too.
As we get ready to wrap up, what's exciting coming up in the next 6 to 12 months for you?
Well, I just continue to expand upon what we offer in our company. So I have a clinic called Precision Health MD in Fullerton, and so I see both men and women, and really adding to more of the longevity science that's coming down the pike. So I do a lot more now, wearable technology, peptides, IVs. So kind of adding to more this sort of, again, I
Hmm.
hate that word anti-aging, but the concept of aging the way you want to, because we're all going to age. It can't be anti. And so doing that, and then I started a YouTube channel because I wanted to get the education out to women about these transitions and perimenopause and menopause. And so that's just been fun to connect with people online and get
Yeah,
the information that they want, because this is obviously not standard Western medicine. So it's great because I have patients or people online who are like, what is this curcumin you talk about? And what is this? So I have a chance to kind of educate.
now, and this is something our audience might be thinking, is this covered by insurance usually, or does everybody need to pay for this on their own? Because you know how the insurance companies are
Yeah.
here, the battle.
It is. So I would say most functional integrative medicine practices in Southern California are cash. We're hybrid, so we're cash and insurance. I am just trying to look at this model because it's gotten way harder this year with insurance. They're actually restricting a ton of things. So they used to let
Hmm.
us bill for time, and now we can't bill for time. So I can't do any of this type of medicine in 5 minutes. Like your standard doctor spends 3 to 5 minutes with
Right,
you, because again, they can't get paid for time, and so
right.
the insurance companies are like, yeah, we're not going to do time anymore. So I think it's going to unfortunately push a lot of us in this type of model, this type of healthcare into cash again, because there's just, it's restrictive. They also took
Right.
telehealth. I mean, they're taking telehealth for Medicare patients that just started in October. And I'm sure
Mm,
commercials are going to start going that way. So I see a lot of patients who, they're in Palm Springs. They don't want to drive an hour and a half. Southern California is so unique. It could be 4 miles away and take you an hour and a half.
yeah, yeah, that's so true for sure.
So I think it's unfortunate to let go of telehealth, because literally it's a lifesaver for a lot of people.
Right, right.
I think, the healthcare situation is definitely broken. It's definitely sick care, not healthcare. So until those things can kind of change, there's definitely some limitations to practicing medicine 3.0.
Hmm. No, that's awesome. Thanks so much, Dr. Roelands, for sharing what you do, and so audience who's listening that may not have known that this exists or is even available. And so anybody who may be listening and wants to get a hold of you and reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, my company website is Precision Health MDOC as in orangecounty.com.
Mhm.
And then I am on Instagram, Dr. Jen M.MD. And then my YouTube channel is under my name, Dr. Jennifer Roelands.
Very good.
Yeah,
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the show. And to our audience, please go to ocpowerplayers.com and follow us on your favorite channel.
thank
Thanks so
you.
much, Dr. Roland.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.